controversial in some circles, but I just want you to know the facts. Because the facts are that he had to deal with what he inherited, and the Republicans want us to go back to where we were and what caused the problem in the first place. They actually say things like, the problem with the Great Recession wasn't that Wall Street was regulated too lightly, it was that Wall Street was regulated too much. I mean, they live in an alternative universe when it comes to looking at the facts. And then they say, well, this was a slow recovery. Now, that does take a lot of nerve, because we would not have needed a recovery if we hadn't been dumped in the ditch in the first place by the failed policies of the Republican administration. So, talk to your friends. I mean, I know there are a lot of folks who have a different view, and we need to engage them and talk to them, and I'm sure going to talk about this every day in this election. I'm also going to defend the Affordable Care Act, which has been a great step forward. 19 million people now have health care. We did not have it before. We are at 90% of covering all Americans. And here's what I want to say. Before there was what they call Obamacare, there's what they call Hillary Care. Because back in the early 1990s, when Bill went into the White House, we wanted to get a system in place that would provide health insurance for every American. And we worked really hard at it. Fact is that we were unsuccessful. The drug companies, the insurance companies, they beat us. And it was really tragic because I met with so many people who couldn't get insurance because they had a pre-existing condition. Women paid more for our insurance than men did. Young people were out of luck. They couldn't get on their parents' policy and they couldn't afford anything else. So many people were really left out. And I could tell you a million stories. Let me just tell you one. I spent a lot of time working on the Arkansas Children's Hospital when I was First Lady of Arkansas, and it was a labor of love. And I was so proud that we had one of the fastest growing, best children's hospitals in America. And so because I'm really hoping to help kids get the health care they need, I traveled around to children's hospitals when I was First Lady of the United States. And I was in Cleveland at the Children's Hospital there, talking to parents who had very sick kids. And one man said, look, I could afford insurance, but nobody will sell me any, because I have 2 daughters with cystic fibrosis. And I said, what do they say to you when you try to get insurance? He said, well, I'll tell you, the last meeting I had, I explained to them I was a successful businessman. I provided health insurance for my own employees and their families. I just needed some help. And the man looked at me, this gentleman was telling me, and he said, you don't understand, we don't insure burning houses. And the father telling me this story had tears in his eyes. He said to me, they called my little girls burning houses. I tell you that story because I could tell you hundreds more. And I want you to remember it, because when the Republicans vote to repeal the Affordable Care Act, they are literally voting to go back to what we had, where people were unsure, insecure about whether their health needs would be taken care of. I meet people all the time who thank me for defending the Affordable Care Act, and then they tell me their story about how they've been uninsured, they hadn't been to the doctor. A woman in South Carolina said, I finally decided to get affordable health care because I was having headaches. I went to the doctor for the first time in years and found out I had brain cancer. She said, I'm being treated now, but literally, that program saved my life. So when you hear these Republican presidential candidates saying that they want to repeal it, they want to get rid of it, ask yourself, what are they going to replace it with? And I can tell you, I'm proud of Arkansas. I'm really proud of Arkansas because both Mike Beebe, the prior Democratic governor, now Asa Hutchinson, the current Republican governor, have been among the most creative leaders in the country to figure out how to expand Medicaid, in Arkansas to take care of, more than 100,000 people last time I checked. And you know what that's meant? That's meant not only the people got health care, it's also meant that rural hospitals have stayed open that are closing in states that refuse to extend Medicaid.